Gentlemen, I have a tale to tell you. Yeah, I way oversold that. This is just a quick one, basically for OzJester and Ranga, and my new little viewer Andy. I had a bit of a problem. One of my newest projects that I wanted to work on, I needed a way of grabbing a pen with a gripper around a central point so that it stayed centered. See, the problem with a normal gripper is that you tend to have an actuator that collapses around something that's static, and the problem with that is that you can't always guarantee the position of the center of the object that you're gripping. But if you have two actuators acting equally on the object from opposite directions, you tend to end up with the object aligning itself into the center no matter how big it is. Small object, big object. But this isn't as simple as it sounds, because even your traditional or your classic pincer that pivots around a central point results in something that can grab an object of different sizes equally in the x-axis, but not in the other axis, in this case the y-axis, or close and far away from the screen.
Trust me, I've done some tricking stuff.
So in classic Pete style, I launched straight into design without any form of research. I needed it to be simple, I needed it to be 3D printable, reliable, and I needed it to be easy to use. But as I'm about to show you, it wasn't as simple as I was hoping. I ended up having to iterate on the same design several times before I ended up with something that I think might work. My first design was pretty simple. It was basically just a bolt with a hole down the center. It had two flayed wings that, as you screwed the nut down, would come closer together and ultimately pinch what was running through the middle of it. But it failed the easy to use test, so that sucked. Got rid of that. My next design was ridiculously over-engineered. It was a good concept. It had a nice little central pinching mechanism. It used a screw that moved a actuator, for want of a better word, along a linear plane and ultimately pinched two arms together into a central location. But, yeah, that was shit. But my third iteration was based very much on the same principle, and I really liked this one because it worked. I mean, it worked. It was easy to use, it was simple, it was light, it was easy 3D printable. It still had some metal parts in it, which I didn't like, but it was a good basis. So I moved on to the next phase, which was figuring out how to integrate it into the design. And that's where a couple of these other little minor tweaks came in. The end goal of the design was to have the mechanism be elevated by a servo on demand, so I needed it to be able to be raised and lowered, which then brought in another equation, which was the center of gravity. And this design, as it got heavier, just did not work. So, gone. About a week later, I had an epiphany while I was trying to solve the center of gravity equation, and I realized I could just come up with a gear mechanism that just pinched equally on two sides. And oh my god, I love this design. It is so fun. It's light, it's simple, it's basic, there's no metal, and that evolved into a much more, an even simpler mechanism, which was gripped by an elastic band. All you used was this little key to kind of wedge the elastic band apart whenever you wanted to move things up and down. So after 3 or 4 iterations of this design, the center of gravity problem persisted, and I could not get the mechanism to raise and lower without the center of gravity being completely off balance and the mechanism failing to... 3D printing is not an exact science, so if this is made out of metal, maybe it would work, but it's sucked in plastic. Pfft, gone. Which brings me to one of my favorites, the aperture gripper. Oh boy, I thought this was going to be it. I needed a way to get the center of gravity as close to the object that was being gripped as possible. The mechanism had to surround that object and not be offset to one side. And it needed to grip really hard, and this had 6 points of contact. I thought this was going to be the one. It's a beautiful mechanism, easy to use. I thought I could put a simple elastic band around it and once again hold it tight so that whatever was being gripped would just be naturally elastic. Oh boy, was I wrong. There is just no torque in this mechanism. It's elegant, it's fun, but it doesn't work. gone. Which brings me to the piece de resistance. The good one. It's it's a drill chuck. It's exactly what you would see on the end of a drill. This follows on from exactly the same principle I was trying to solve with the aperture gripper, in that the mechanism needs to be central, the center of gravity needs to be around the object that it's gripping. This goes one step further in that it will have a larger surface contact with the object that it's gripping. I still get the full range of motion on it, and I can put a screw on top of it to raise and lower it. The pincers open and close as the mechanism moves up and down because it's both horizontally and vertically tracked. And it's easy to assemble, all 3D printed, no metal, light, simple, easy to use, and it grips, baby. It grips. So there you have it, guys. Just a little insight into my last few weeks and the crazy process that I undertake when I'm designing something particularly trivial yet somewhat complicated. I hope to catch you in the next one. Cheers.